Well, welcome. I'm so glad you decided to join us here today. I know our lives can get really busy, and sometimes we don't take time for some of those things that can maybe move the dial for us in a better way. And I always hope to do that for you. Today's going to be no exception. Today, we've got the pleasure of speaking with Barb Stone, and we're going to be talking about negotiating a life worth drooling over. So that hopefully that will pique your interest, and negotiation lessons from an unexpected teacher. So welcome, Barb.
Hi, great to be here, Cindy. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I'm looking forward to the conversation. And for our listeners, I'd ask you to ask yourself, what if the best negotiation lessons for living fully didn't come from the
Mhm.
boardroom, but from four paws, a wet nose, and an unapologetic joy for life? Today's conversation is going to be about living large, without apology, without putting expectations of perfection on ourselves, and without waiting for permission. And for those of you who
Yeah.
may not know her, Barb Stone brings a pretty refreshing blend of humor and heart and insight into how we negotiate with, fear and self-doubt and maybe those stories that keep us small. And how on the other side, reconnecting with joy and purpose and even throwing in some play can radically shift how we show up in our lives. So let's kick it off. Barb, when you talk about living large, what does that
Mhm.
really mean? I mean, we hear that thrown about a lot about, but especially for people maybe who feel stuck or overwhelmed or in a bit of burnout right now, what does living large look like for you?
Cindy, I think that, I myself always lived small for most of my life. And it was like because I was just trying to find my voice, my place in life,
Yeah.
in my job. And I worked as a senior leader in manufacturing, so that's very male dominated. And I had to work harder, be smarter, and work longer to be able to be seen. But then it's like, finally, I said, I've had enough of this. And I really needed to do something that was more impactful for me,
Yeah.
but also that I wanted to help other people.
Yeah.
And, when we start talking about living large, so I've had four Great Danes.
Yeah.
And so they're a
I
little
love
bit
them.
different. Yeah, they are. They're a little bit different than the other dogs because they have a presence.
Yeah.
When they walk in the room, they know, that they're there. And they're going to make sure if you don't, that you do.
Yeah.
So it's like, what lessons have they taught me that, and I have taken the lessons that I have learned in my life and put it through their eyes.
Yeah.
And there's just so much. So it's like we have that chance to live large.
Yeah.
We have to give ourselves permission. We have to step in the room, being authentic and being ourselves and not asking for any permission to be anything else because these dogs walk into the room and they go, I'm here. You
Yeah.
know, I'm here.
Yeah.
and
And for our
and
listeners, I just want to point out as well that it's not the size. It's not just that Great Danes are large.
mm,
It's that presence, right? So it doesn't matter
yes.
if you are 5 foot to nothing or whether you're 6 feet. It's about the energy that you show up with. Would you agree with that, Barb?
Absolutely. It is. It's that how are you being?
Yeah.
One of the things is that I found over years, what are your values
Yeah.
in life? And really living to that, standing on it. Well, these guys, what they want is they want love.
Yeah.
They want to be accepted.
Yeah.
They want to be part of the family
Yeah.
and they want to play and
Yeah.
have a good time. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And so, how is it that we can learn from that type of living large instead of just, oh, you've got to be this and you've
Yeah.
got to be that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's how can you just show up as you are
Yeah.
and really lean into what you need to do and what
And
your
not be afraid
values.
to ask for what you want. When you just said that about, they want love. I'm thinking as you're speaking of that, we got, 120-pound German Shepherd, and like he'll come up
Okay.
and he uses his nose to move my arm. It's like, come on, I'm needing some
Yeah.
attention here. Get your hands off that keyboard. So,
Exactly. I mean, we used to, one of our prior Danes, he used to jump up and want to give you a hug.
Oh, geez.
And,
Knock you on your ass, I
luckily,
bet.
oh, that was, especially with somebody coming in the door that was a little
Yeah.
petite, But now I've got Zeus, and when he wants attention, he like wraps his paw
Yeah.
around your leg,
Yeah.
his arm, and it's like, here, hey, I'm here. Give me love, And that's the thing that we need to be able to do. Know what it is that we want and ask for it.
And I'd say that for everyone, and in particular for the women out there who are listening, we've been so conditioned not to ask for what we want, right? Not to rock the boat, not to ruffle feathers. So these are great lessons that we in particular should pay attention for. And I think a lot of people negotiate their lives from a place of scarcity, right? That,
Yes.
scarcity of time, of energy, scarcity of our value. There's not enough, that you're sort of fixed pie. And what would you say that negotiating large idea requires us to renegotiate internally? What are some of that conditioning we maybe need to unpack?
Really knowing who you are. And I think about we need to get centered in the day to be able to say, what's going on for us? Who are we? Being able to know so that you can renegotiate anything that comes at you.
Yeah,
I have a practice and it's in a lead magnet on my website, but it's thinking about what you are grateful for
yeah,
because you need to, the gratefulness expands even when you don't think you have enough time,
yeah.
even when you don't think you have enough money. You are grateful for what you have, and that will expand. The other thing that I really think is important is to either prayer or meditation in the morning to be able to get yourself centered, but also connect with a higher power because you can tap into energy that's outside of yourself and finding what you need to do.
Hmm.
And the third thing was getting up and reading something inspirational, being intentful. And
Yeah,
that's part of the reason why I wrote so much to drool about
yeah. I
is
love that
because
title.
I wanted to because life is to be drooled over.
Yeah,
I wanted to be able to give stories and then a wisdom statement for people to think about
yeah,
what they needed to do as they're negotiating their day, because we are
yeah,
negotiating
absolutely.
every single moment
Yeah.
of what we want to do and what we don't want to do. And one of the things I ended up saying in trying to be a little bit more intentful for 2026 is what am I saying yes to?
Yeah.
And what do I need to say no to?
And I
And
want to just
what
take a
is
pause for one second for it, because I think you touched on something so important there for our listeners, that intentionality about our life. We are so conditioned to these to-do mentalities, all of the agendas and most of the plan, everything is to do, so task driven. And I want you to really take a moment and sit with what Barb is saying about just letting yourself be grounded, letting yourself
Mhm.
be present, be in the moment. Allow yourself
Yes.
to be grateful and set your intentions for the day before you jump out of bed and you get on your go-to. So it's, and sorry to interrupt there, Barb, but I wanted to,
No.
I use that word a lot, intention, right?
Yeah.
Intentional about who do I want to show up as today? Who do I want to be in this particular conversation even, right? So sorry, carry on.
No, no, it's perfect because we need to say what we want to do.
Yeah,
Otherwise, life can happen to us.
yeah,
And you just kind of go like, okay, it's not my problem. But if we were to intently say, this is what I want to put out, so many times I do this in a lot of my talks. We talk about things that life can happen to you where you become the victim,
yeah,
or life can happen for you
yeah,
where you take this and it's happening. How can you grow from it? How can you renegotiate
yeah,
what has happened and really point you in the right direction? But then life can happen through you
yeah,
where you can take that wisdom of what you have learned and really be able to embark it and move it forward with people around you, with your family, and showing them what they need to do. That's part of why I put this book out is because I needed, these are a lot of lessons that I learned, a lot of lessons that I've learned with my dogs, but that I can really have them come
Yeah.
through me for people to
Yeah.
be able to learn from there.
And that was such a big distinguishing feature for me when I read that of yours, because, I've heard often about life can happen to you or life can happen for you. But when I saw in your work that life can happen through you, that was a real shift for me. And again, for our listeners, I invite you to catch the difference of that, right? It's one thing to embrace that life can happen for me, which is a step up, but that life can happen through me, that sharing. And my goodness, with the such polarization in the world today, what a beautiful, more beautiful world it would be if we all embraced that philosophy. And you said about your experiences, I'm wondering if you can share, like as a concrete matter, what's one subtle way that people unknowingly maybe shrink their lives that you see in your practice?
Ah, wow, there's so many things. Well, so many times people have fears
Yeah,
on what they need to do and how to do it. And the thing about it is if they can start thinking about shifting from the fears
yeah,
of trying and seeing that that lesson that you may learn, it may not go perfectly,
yeah,
but if you were to take one step towards that goal and being able to see, well, is that the right thing for me to do? Does it align with my values?
yeah,
Do I need to shift where I'm going? That's the renegotiating that's
yeah,
going on with
yeah,
ourselves and the universe and everything around us that we need to find. I work with so many business leaders that are starting a new business. They've got this grand idea that
yeah,
they want to put out. They want to put this big thing out, but it's like, where to start? Or they're afraid to start. They're
yeah,
afraid of showing up. And what I'll say to, and I work as a guide for them to move forward. But there isn't a prescribed plan
yeah,
for what they need to do, nor is there a prescribed plan for our life. But what I tell them is start taking a small step
yeah,
towards where you want to go. And you're going to find out from that step, is it the right step or do you need to reshift? Is it a little wonky on
yeah,
your footing?
yeah,
And then reshift. But each time you take a step, you're going to build on that
yeah,
previous step
yeah,
and you learn. And instead of being fearful of, I'm going to fail, I lived my life like that.
yeah,
So afraid, especially working in manufacturing. And it was like, because I was afraid of failing and I had to work harder, larger, faster.
yeah,
But what it is really taking those steps and learning and being vulnerable, but also finding the people, your tribe
yeah.
around you that's going to support you on this journey. I couldn't have done it without my mentors around
Yeah.
me.
Well, and I'm glad we're talking that you've brought up the fear because I think, that fear and self-doubt are powerful negotiators, right? In that internal negotiating that we're doing all the time. They're so pervasive and
Yeah,
persuasive sometimes. So
yeah.
if we take a step back from what you were just saying about those steps, for people who are like, I think a lot of times people don't know when they're in fear or that fear is driving them. So how do you recognize when that fear is maybe running the conversation?
When you get stuck, I really think a lot of people, when they get fearful, they get stuck. They can't move.
Yeah,
And I truly believe that the antidote to some of that fear is movement.
yeah,
Start moving, move towards something,
nice.
and then learn. There's a story in my book, and I learned this when I was in junior high. It was from Mr. Hardman. He was a social studies teacher, and he gave us these lessons throughout life lessons throughout the year. But he talked about one was about grasping the nettle. And he said, when life gets hard, you grab hold of the nettle. And what is a nettle? A nettle is a prickly plant.
That's what I was
And
thinking, huh?
yeah, yes, but it can hurt.
Yeah.
Can hurt. But the reality is you can learn from that pain. You
That's,
can,
I've never heard that expression before. That is, I can see that. And like at first it seems so counterintuitive, but as
yeah,
you think about it more, it's like lean into it, lean into the fear that you have about that thing, and just as you say, get into movement. I think that's fabulous. So, and for our
and I use
listeners, I want to say to you that that's a lesson to take away from that, right? Like if fear has a voice in your negotiation table, how you can respond without letting it win is, as Barb's saying, is get into movement and lean into that and grab a hold of that nettle, that prickly fear that you're experiencing. I think that's fabulous, Barb. And what does playing more look like for people who feel maybe that they don't, I think most of us we're saying this to-do lifestyle where they don't feel like they have enough time or energy or the permission we talked about earlier. So what does playing more look like and what will it do for them?
playing more is like giving yourself to be human.
Mm,
It's like giving permission to be who you are and permission to have fun. That yes, we need to do the things that do to-do lists. We need to stick into our job and our daily routine. But there's nothing wrong with giving yourself some permission
yeah.
to be human and have fun.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to have fun?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
going back to your Great Danes or dogs in general, I mean, they know how to do that, right? I mean, it's why dog videos are so popular, so outrageously popular online right now. It just makes you want to smile and feel good. And speaking of that, like you found that wisdom in the that places that people overlook, with these four-legged teachers that have. And I wonder if you could share with us maybe what do those four-legged teachers show us about, like maybe values and boundaries, and even authenticity.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the boundaries, they will set their own boundaries. They will end up saying, hey, this is my territory. And they will end up saying, no, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to let you in.
Yeah,
And they do that intuitively, like it just happens. They know their spot. We have two dog beds
yeah,
on either side of our bed, and they know that that's their bed.
yeah,
Every so often, somebody comes to move into their space, but they let them know, hey, this is my space. And so they've set that boundary, but they authentically, they just be who they need to
yeah,
be. When
yeah,
my dog, one of them goes to doggy daycare and he loves it because he gets to play.
yeah,
And we want him to take that energy. We want him to play because, yes, we walk them and we let them out, but going and playing with other dogs
yeah,
and allowing himself to be who he needs to be and to partner with the dogs. So I'm always asking, who are his favorite dogs?
yeah,
Who is he playing with?
yeah,
And because I would like to know, is he tending to go more towards the humans or is he tending to go towards specific small or larger dogs? What is he looking to do? Because that's going to allow him to have his own authenticity
yeah,
because he makes that decision,
yeah.
not us from there.
And I find one thing people often overlook is I think at least, and I'd be interested in your perspective, dogs bring tremendous empathy to the table. And, it's at the foundation of the art of feminine negotiation. This idea about, having power or persuasion isn't about chest beating or trying to have power, exert power over others. And a Great Dane, a big dog that could, but they bring such empathy. Like, if they're dealing with an owner or a person who comes who's older and frail, and I know even with our big shepherd, my mom has passed now, but at the end she was quite frail. He was so gentle. And times when I've been feeling really hurt or sad or something's happened in my life, they exude that empathy and bring it to the table. Has that been your experience or?
Absolutely. They know when somebody's not feeling well.
Yeah,
They know when somebody needs attention. They recently, our past two dogs, we've put them to sleep at home
yeah,
because we've wanted the
yeah,
other dog to witness it.
Yeah.
and to
Oh, wow.
know
Yeah.
that they're gone. And I'll never forget, we our first one was a rescue,
Yeah.
and we got her when she was a year old. And then my husband decided when she was about 4 that we needed to get a puppy.
Yeah.
So we got a puppy, and he was amazing. That was Bo. But when Jazz passed, he kept looking for her
Oh,
because she was like his mentor.
yeah.
And he would go to her chair, like where, even though he was in the room when she was put to sleep, he's still looking for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like because
Heartbreaking.
he wants to be there for her, and he wants that companionship.
Yeah.
And so that those are they really show up when people they're intuitive about what people need and what other dogs need.
Yes. And I want to transfer that over for our listeners just as a reminder to us to bring more empathy to the table, right? When you're negotiating with her and try and think about the story behind what's presenting. Because often, even with bullies, it's the case that, there's hurt there, there's some trauma there. And when you can show up in your, when you're dealing with your kids when they're driving you crazy, or with your intimate partner, or in business, or service providers, bringing that empathy to the table can be a real game changer. I think it's a great lesson that we can all learn. And we're speaking of lessons, Barb, I'm wondering what's one lesson that you found that consistently surprises people, like from the work that you do? What's one lesson that you would say surprises people when they hear it?
Well, one of the things I was looking at was I started taking a look at some of my stories in my book to be able to share. And one of the things about life, and especially as females, we have between the social media and everything going on, we are thinking that there needs to be perfection,
Yeah,
and what would it look like if we let go of that perfection and we could just be ourselves?
yeah,
And one of the things I ended up talking about here is letting go of perfection. The wisdom statement behind the story is I can embrace imperfection as part of growth.
yeah,
In forgiveness, both from others and oneself, lies the freedom to learn and communicate better.
yeah,
So if we can let go of perfection in us, and as you were talking about, getting to the negotiating table and you don't know what's going on, that bully or whatever,
yeah,
I talk to people a lot about recognizing that there's a human on the other side.
yeah.
You
Yes,
do not know what that human has
absolutely.
been through. You do not know what they went through in the morning. So as they're showing up,
Yeah,
they may have a residual of an issue that has been going on and is plaguing them. And so now they bring that there. So it's like, what can you do to give them grace? And as you said,
yeah,
the empathy
yeah,
and being able to continue negotiating, but focus in on a win-win goal for both of you.
yeah.
I think that is it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it always reminds me of that Amanda Marshall song, right? That chorus about that taxi driver may have a PhD and whatever. And it really struck me. I mean, this is a long time ago now. My dad died, at only 52 years old. And we got the call from the hospital at 5:30 just saying he'd taken a turn for the worst to come. And driving there that morning, like my whole nervous, and you're looking at everybody going about their day. And that was the first time I think I had a really keen awareness that could be anybody else I'm dealing with today, but on the other foot, right? So as you say, show up with grace. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't take much to give that. So now, if someone listening here feels stuck today, what is one small doable step you would recommend, Barb, that they could take immediately?
So I would tell them to sit back, take a pause. I'm going to paraphrase the quote from Viktor Frankl
Yeah,
that between a stimulus and a response
yeah,
is a pause. And what I would end up saying to them is to think about pausing for a moment,
yeah,
giving yourself, again, a bit of grace and saying, okay, what's really going on here? and what do I really need to do?
Yeah.
Because it's in that pause that there is the learning for you to take that next step and get yourself unstuck.
Yeah.
Because there are many different ways that you can move in a specific direction. Thinking you don't have to do a knee-jerk reaction. You can pause for a second
Yeah.
and think about what would be the right thing for you to do.
Yeah, I love that quote. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It was a game changer for me, right? That just take that moment because we can't control everything that happens in the world, but we can choose how we respond. And if you take that pause to make that an, as we were talking about earlier, right, an intentional choice, that's can change everything. And speaking of change, what do you think would change if people negotiated with themselves instead of against ourselves, as we do so often?
I think that if you negotiated with yourself and really maybe overuse this word today, but
Yeah,
permission to recognize that you don't have to be hard on yourself,
yeah,
that there's a lot of goodness and you can move forward. I have to remind myself daily and to give myself permission, to give myself a pause
yeah,
before I move forward in doing the thing I need to do.
yeah,
And why is it that I'm doing? I don't have to beat myself up. But if I can give myself that grace and knowing that I am intuitively going to listen to my values, listen to my heart, moving forward to do the right thing, you're going to move mountains
yeah,
without
yeah,
really recognizing. And I'm going to, one thing I want to add to this is I teach a lot about quantum flirts.
yeah,
And a quantum flirt is a thought that comes to you. And sometimes it comes to you from a place where you don't know. But if you weren't remaining still and quiet, you might not
yeah,
hear it.
yes,
And that quantum flirt may be a lesson for you. It may be something that's going to help you with your direction. And you may take that quantum flirt and put it behind you and go, no, I'm not doing working on that today. But all of a sudden, there'll be a trail of things that will come.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, you're going to start connecting the dots.
yeah,
And I have to say that that's what happened to me in my book. Is it's like, oh, or I even like, I know you're a TEDx speaker also.
yeah.
I heard someone giving presentation on how to put a TEDx talk together.
Hmm.
And I went and I wrote it out,
Yeah,
but I wasn't ready for it.
huh,
And I just had to wait for the right moment, but I knew that if I had jumped on it immediately. So give yourself some grace and permission to
yeah,
pause, to wait, to listen to what are the messages that are coming at you. They can come from you, from the universe, from God, but they can also come from people
yeah.
that you're speaking to or people that show up in your life.
Or that quantum flirt. I love that. I've never heard that term before. I love that. And it made me think, because as I was coming here, I was sort of rushing to make sure I got back in time, as you know. And all of a sudden I was driving. I never had this. And as clear as a bell barber, I could hear like chimes, like wind chimes, which clearly they weren't. I'm in the middle of the highway, right? Coming barely. And I'm actually kind of looking around going, what is happening? And maybe that was a little quantum flirt for me to, stop and hear the music or bring some balance and beauty to your life. I love that.
Yeah.
So, winding up here today, our time's gone super quick. If our four-legged teachers were hosting this podcast instead of you and I today, what do you think that they would ask our audience here to stop overthinking immediately? What advice
Oh,
would we get them from them?
oh, stop overthinking immediately. Just be yourself,
Yeah,
you know, and be present.
yeah,
So many times we think we're in this moment and we're thinking about the next thing that we need to do.
yeah,
That next thing will take care of itself, but you need
yeah,
to be in this moment, be around the people that you're with, be around your thoughts, and be centered. And that will help you move forward.
yeah. and be present, as you say, like be there, that being in the truest sense of the word, right? Like be there. I love that. And where can people learn more about you, Barb?
They can go to my website, barbstone.me, and they can find out about the book on my website, or they can go to Amazon. And so much to drool about because life lessons for living large, because
Yeah.
life is meant to be drooled over. We
Yeah.
need to have, we need, drooling is savoring, so savor over
Yeah.
your life.
That's so good. And I encourage you guys, go get the book. I mean, I think it's a clever spin. It's going to stick with you. Those lessons are really going to hang on because it's invites you to think about it in a way we haven't before, but in a way that's really grounded and easily accessible. And those of you who know me know I'm going to put the plug as well. Definitely also go and ask your local independent bookstore if you know they are disappearing at an alarming rate. Go ask them for the book. It'll raise their awareness, which is great for Barb, and but also maybe it'll encourage them to get the book in so that other people in all of your communities can enjoy that interaction as well. So, Barb, thank you so much for joining us here today. You know, this conversation I think has been such a reminder that negotiating well isn't about that winning, right? It's about choosing how we live and love and lead ourselves going forward. And that sometimes the wisest negotiators don't speak at all, they simply show us how to be. So, thank you, Barb. And thank you, our listeners, for spending time here today with us. And if today's episode touched you, share it. Share the episode with someone whose heart might need these messages too. And when you're ready to rise into your next chapter, whether gently or boldly, I'm here. You can find coaching, community, and courses waiting for you at artoffemininenegotiation.com. And until next time, remember every moment invites a renegotiation. So choose compassion, choose courage. Choose you. Until next time, take care.